Hello folks and welcome to OurGame. Myself Shane Stapleton. I'm joined today by former Tipperary hurler and current Monaghan hurling manager Owen Brislane. Of course, a necklace of Tipperary county titles around your neck as well from over the years, torturing us all around Tipperary, Owen. But how's things with you?
Good, all good, Shane, all good form.
Yeah, baby on the way tomorrow, so
baby on the way. Pressure's on.
Can you talk? Have you enjoyed the hurling season so far? Obviously, with the league semi-finals coming this weekend, but what have you made of it?
I suppose conditions have kind of hampered a lot of games. After it's been horrendous conditions for most matches, and I suppose it is the split season is going to come into debate again, isn't it? I suppose as a club manager, I'm actually delighted with the split season because we only went back on the field training on Tuesday night there, so the 19th of March, which is great. Our league starts the 6th of April, so it's great. You're not back in the field in January and February. The clocks are going back there in a couple of weeks' time, so it's brilliant. So from that side, I think. But from an inter-county point of view, you have a lot of the players are back training in October, November, December, and playing league and in the January, and it's you're not really, even though they're playing the best pitches, they're not really seeing the best of hurling. So, and it's hard to believe the championship is in 4 or 5 weeks' time. It's hard to believe, it's crazy.
And I suppose a topic that we've been touching on a lot on the show lately is about centre backs. And do you now have a stylish centre back, or do you need a centre back who can mark? And just in terms of Kilkenny, it's a question at the moment. Tipperary, it's a question. And I'm just wondering, who would you see as maybe the top 3 centre backs in hurling at the moment in the county?
Yeah, the role has definitely changed, I think, and this big physical man dominating in the air and driving out is that day is nearly okay. You still need a requirement for that as well, but it's more of a link play, a man links to play. But listen, the man that comes to mind straight away is Kieran Joyce. To me, is probably the best 6. He's young. He'd go forward. He's good in the ball. He's Declan Hannon, obviously, Ty DeBorca. They're probably Ty DeBorca's injuries. But it's them 3, I suppose, and even Declan Hannon, Limerick are obviously preparing for their experimenting with Kyle O'Neill for a new 6. So, but yeah, Kieran Joyce is 1, I suppose. Declan Hannon and DeBorca. But then, is Damien? If you're not saying DeBorca is out injured the whole time, you look at Damien Reck maybe as the next best 6. John Conlon. I don't think John Conlon had a great season last year. I think that he's an issue there for Clare. I think that he's a smashing player, great hurler and all the rest. But would I put him as a top 3 best 6 in the country? No. I think Clare are looking to replace him, and I think David McInness. I think there's an injury problem there, David McInness at the moment now. So they're looking to replace him as well. And was a fine player, but is he in the top 3 best 6 in the country this year? I would say no. Okay. But you have Clare looking to replace the 6, you have Limerick looking to replace the 6, you have Tipperary who still can't find a 6. Galway had Keane Fahy at 6 there last weekend, Dardrahan man. Dublin have Chris Crummy at 6 against Limerick. There's Richie Reid at 6 for Kilkenny. Are any of these guys top of the range number 6s? I don't think they are. And it's an issue for everybody and I suppose every team is looking at Limerick, and every team is trying to replicate what Limerick is doing. And you know what? It's probably to the detriment of a lot of teams because, in my opinion, you're just better off. Management and good sign management coaches, you work with the tools you have, right? And unfortunately, not every team has 20 players like Limerick, and you just have to pick who suits your shape and your team the best. Do you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. But Kieran Joyce to me is a standout number one.
So is part of it now that teams feel like they have to press up on Limerick, go, match them for numbers out the field. So now whoever's playing 6 is no longer a protected species. Now maybe to some degree Limerick do protect theirs better because they're so repped with their shape. But is everyone else now throwing their 6 to the wolves, and who can actually survive?
Yeah, well, you see, the difference is, right, you have to press up in Limerick. There's no question at all about that, right? I don't think there's any argument there, right? We all know that, right? If you sit off them, they're incredible on the ball. But the difference is what everybody else is. When you shove up then, and when you have to have a very mobile middle third, right? That half back to midfield, half forward line, and even one of the inside forwards, when that ball goes long, they have to track back the field so hard and so quick and so ferocious. And that when if you can turn over that ball, then you're not just lumping the ball up the field, you're working the ball in. So the fitness levels and the energy levels and the I suppose how smart your players are on the ball. If they're not really clever on the ball, like, and go lateral or go backwards and know when to do that, you're basically just going to pump the ball back down to a free player, and it becomes you're just broken down. But I listen, it takes a while to get that right. You have to trust the players. You have to have a system. You have to run it and run it and run it and run it and swapping and changing. And just because you get a couple of clippings or it doesn't work out in a couple of games, if you come back to my original point, you have to pick the player for you that you're going to fit your system, and you have to stick with him. And like that 10, 11, 12 have huge. It's they're. You know.
Yeah, and like then if you're to bring it on to Tipperary, Brian McGrath was played there against Limerick and probably didn't go brilliantly for him. We've seen Robert Byrne played there a nice bit. Other options, maybe the likes of Barry Heffernan, he seems to be a little bit out of favour at the moment. Maybe you could say Brian O'Mara play there. Who would you play 6 for Tipperary?
Okay, so I'd have 3 in my mind that play 6. I'd have Carl Barrett, I'd have Brian O'Mara, or I'd have Noel McGrath. They're my 3.
But then, like, if we're talking about how a 6 has to be able to survive defending, it would be a big jump to just throw Noel McGrath into the backs 1v1 against, a pacey centre forward.
It would, but you see, this is where I'm talking about your cover and your midfield and half forward line. That's where the unit works. It's as simple as that. Like, so, no matter if you have Barrett or if you have whoever you have in Brian O'Mara, if you're going to isolate a 6 at 6, right, and you don't have your team working as a unit, you're going to be caught out anyway. But the beauty about having, they're 3 very different players, right? And I suppose Brian O'Mara, of all of them, isn't proven yet, right, as a 6 or even as inter-county standard over a number of seasons. But he has potential. He's played Fitzgibbon, all the rest. We all know that, right? He's a smashing player, good physique, good in the ball, athletic guy. Carl Barrett at 6 would bring you energy. He can cover the ground. He's aggressive. He's good use of the ball. This thing about size, he's too small. That day is gone. I don't believe in that anymore. He's still aggressive enough to play there. Noel McGrath then will just bring you that. He'd bring that quarterback 6. That basically he'd read the game. He'd cover left and right. Has he the legs like he has to use it? No, he doesn't. But again, if you have your team working as a unit, and he could fit into that slot, no bother. Declan Hannon isn't exactly the most paciest guys in the world. Do you know what I mean? So it can work.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I just want to ask you, seeing as you are a Monaghan manager, and we've seen Donegal O'Donnell play quite well this year, especially against Dublin. I thought he was excellent. Always looking to take on his man. Of all the guys who were looking to break into that team, Cathal O'Neill, Adam English, Donegal O'Donnell, Colin Coughlin, I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
Adam English,
yeah. Like, how close do you think Donegal O'Donnell is, and how good can he be?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, he's having a very good league. He had a good league last year too, and kind of faded out a bit of when I don't know, lost a bit of form, whatever. It came off after obviously a long season with Monaghan, and he came into the league and was flying it. But then I say the whole year non-stop caught him for a finish. But this year, listen, he's a year older. He's pacey. He's good in the ball. He's exactly an exact like replacement for a Gillane or a Seamus Flanagan. Right, them 2 in particular that are inside line and breaking out. If you leave space in front of him, he's going to murder you. Do you know what I mean? He won't collect every ball, but he'll collect 90% of them, and he'll run around, like he's huge pace, and he's a very confident player. But like, I suppose at the start of the season, Donegal would have been kind of looking to break into the team. Now he looks like he's really in the shake-up. Like, he wasn't even on the first 26 last year. I suppose that would have been his first goal this year, onto the match day panel. Now he's looking to be on the first 20, right? But I think Shane O'Brien, Adam English, and what's going to happen, Colin O'Neill will have a big say in that. And the other thing that have a big say in this is, does John Kiley, Paul Kinnerk, these boys, when it comes down to the last 10 minutes of a crucial game in the Munster Championship, and they turn around and go, are we going to go for Donegal Dálaigh or are we going to go for Graham Mulcahy? Who do we trust the most? Do you know what I mean? That'll be the big question. So Graham is still there for another year. Is there back there this year? They're going for the 5 in a row. So it's like Graham came on last year and was outstanding in a couple of games. He didn't do much. But I think it's between Adam English, Donegal, and Shane O'Brien, them three, and what happens, Kyle O'Neill. But again, it's lovely riches to have from a point of view. Like, we'd love to have him at Tipp. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a. But anyway, yeah, listen, he's knocking on the door, definitely. He's doing the right things, and he's after having, like, I think he's going to be in the shake-up, definitely in the top 20, you know.
Just in terms of this weekend, like, we know that Kyle Hayes, he obviously has avoided a jail sentence, and I just wonder if he's fit to play this weekend, would now be the perfect time to play him. They said that there was an ankle injury against Tipperary, and there was talk of a curfew. But anyway, I would say that this weekend is the perfect time to play him because it's in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, neutral venue. It's against not their most poisonous rival, which, let's say it was Clare or Tipperary in front of 30,000 this weekend. Now is the time to play him. Would you agree?
100%. Throw him in straight away and let it be. It's dealt with now. It's been dragging on for so long. Whatever your point of view on it, it'll be right or wrong. It's dealt with now. He's got his punishment. He's got his fine. Move on. And I would, if I was manager, I would definitely play him if he was fit. 100%.
Like, you could argue have we ever seen a player like him before with that speed, that hurling smarts, that power? He's like Jack McCaffrey, 6'5", because he makes those line breaks. So I mean,
yeah. Actually, listen, he's like, I suppose if you were both of us are both Tipman, I suppose, right? And we're looking at him and we're going, if we're taking off the Limerick team, who would you take? I'd be honest, he's my number one. I'd leave Keane Lynch. I'd leave, probably between himself and Gillan, but I just think Kyle Hayes. If you're an opposition goalkeeper looking down the field, the one person not hitting the ball down top of is Kyle Hayes. And then, as an opposition, like, manager, you're looking at, lads, we can't let him run at us. We can't let him break the line. We can't let him, like, he's causing awful trouble. Like, and again, you can play him at anywhere in the half back line. You can play him anywhere in the half forward line. He's a great bit of stuff. And listen, come here. Again, the case is the case, and we all have a few points on it. But listen, I just hope he gets back to hurling and gets back to his life and moves on and learned his lesson and moved on. And we see. Listen, he's a smashing player. Was he 25 years of age? Do you know? Yeah. Like, he is some bit of stuff. Like,
are you here, like, when you're down in Monaleen, and are you hearing much talk? Are you even trying to wind lads up about the drive for 5, put the pressure on? If Paul Kinnerk drops down to training, maybe you might start nudging him about it.
Yeah, no, yeah, you won't see much of Paul now, you won't. But it's of course we are put the pressure on him. But it's funny. It's in Limerick. There's confidence there. They know they're the best players. They're there now. In fairness, this year, I think they got the perfect league campaign. Now, it might work out that way in championship, but they've got their timings right every other year. This year, they got 3 easy enough games to build into the Tipp match. Then they got, do you know what I mean? Then they got the Galway game, and now they have Kilkenny, and they've thrown in Tom Morrissey, put in Garrod. Do you know what I mean? They're not flogging them, but seemingly they're training very hard. Like, Garrod Hegarty looks to be a totally different animal this year. Like, weight-wise, he looks totally lean. Keane Lynch looks to have lost, I'd say, a couple of kilos as well. They look to be a lot more leaner or something this year now. And I heard they were training, doing a lot of running and fitness-wise, training very hard. They tend to get their timings right. Listen, they're of course we're trying to put pressure on them and about the drive for 5 and all the rest, but I think it's in one ear out the other, unfortunately.
What do you think of Geez, I'm after forgetting almost what I was going to say. Oh yeah, so last year there was all this talk that maybe that they peaked too early with the league and then they had a tough time in Munster and all that kind of stuff. Is that just like Munster happens to be difficult, and whether they had been strong or weak in the league, they would have had the same rough ride?
Yeah, listen, they're the top team. Everybody wants to crack at them. Everybody's going to raise their game 10-15% against them. They know that. All the top teams know that. They'll be Dublin in the football. They'll be Limerick in the Hurling. They're all, every team wants to crack them. There's no pressure off every team going to play them. They can just have a go. And they still come out the right side of it. Munster is incredibly hard. It's at the moment. Every team can beat anybody. It's impossible really to pick the top 3 teams in Munster at the moment. But Limerick, I actually think, I think the way Limerick are shaping up, I think this could be their best one. I think this could be the hardest one to turn them over in. I think the difference is, I think this year is they actually have a focus, a real goal at the end of this year, where they really hadn't for the last couple of years. Yeah, winning All Ireland, going for 3, going for 4. They're going for 5 in a row. Now, people can look at it 2 ways. It's a noose on their neck, but to me, they're so well drilled. They're such a mature panel, such a mature group of lads. They really know it. Yeah, I just think this extra bit of focus would worry me for the rest of the counties, that like they're just on a mission now, and that's a worry for us all, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And if you were to talk about this weekend, Clare against we might come back to Limerick in a little while, but Clare against Tipperary, like Clare have been motoring very, very well all league, and that's without Tony Kelly and Shane O'Donnell and Ryan Taylor, who you'd hope from him that he's coming back soon. But geez, they've been looking good.
Yeah, and they look there against Kilkenny in blowing in Hughes Park. They look really well conditioned and really strong and good use of the ball, and like, let's call it a spade. They have been the number 2 team in the last couple of years. They're a team that looked close to turn Limerick over in the last couple of years, and that are really going. If anyone's going to beat them, they're going to be the team to beat them. You know, their concern is John Conlon legs. Their concern is Ryan Taylor's injury. Their concern is no sign of Shane O'Donnell yet, and no sign of Tony Kelly yet. And there's talk Dave McInness could be injured as well. So they can't afford that either. They can't afford their depth of panel isn't like everybody else. They have their 18, 19, but they don't have their 20, 23, 24. Like, so I mean, so but to me, yeah, 100%, they're a good side. They're a really, really good side. And again, there's that bit of continuity there. They know who they want and where. Probably 6 needs to be addressed. If Dave McInerney is fit, he's probably the natural man to go in there, and he's really solid. But like Tipp and Clare this weekend, it's a big game. It's a bigger game for Tipp, I feel, than it is for Clare, right? I think Clare know where they're at. I think Tipp need to really settle their team, and who's playing 6? Who's playing 11? Do you know? Who's playing 14? What's our shape? Do you know? We have our full back line probably sorted. We need to sort our goalie. Do you know? Who's our midfield? Who's 8 and 9? So like, we need to start putting that together now, and go down there and get a performance. And say to us, we can turn them over, you know, and we need to turn them over because we have that extra week, and we probably need to get to league final, you know.
You're taking all the wind out of my sails. I'm feeling like Tipp aren't back. For once, I'm saying Tipp aren't back. But like, if you were to go through the positives this year for Tipperary, I think you did a piece a couple of weeks ago, maybe with the Examiner, and you were talking about some of the options that Tipperary had developed. So if you were to look at the positive side, what would it be?
Yeah. Well, listen, the positive side is that we have options, right? As regards, we have new blood coming in, like the likes of Dara Stapleton, like the likes of this Keneally chap, Sean Keneally from Donegal. You have Conor Bogan back, wing back, looks to be a really good attacking minded wing back. You have Craig Morgan back at cornerback, who's a real attacking minded, really aggressive, tight cornerback, who's attack minded as well. Barry Heffernan is back. Jake Morris is flying it. Jason Ford is still as sharp after he came back there. There was question marks. Okay, will he be? How will he be? He's outstanding against Limerick and looks really, really sharp. Okay, what's the role for Noel McGrath? Dan McCormick's come back into it. Like, we still have 20, 22 good players, really good hurlers. But I suppose my question is, we need to put them into a mix now and get a shape and start building it and stick with it and get a bit of continuity. Do you know what I mean? Because as I say, we're only 4 or 5 weeks away, and we need to settle lads into the positions, know their job, and it comes down to being repetitive doing your job, and eventually then it will work. And but yeah, I Craig Morgan to me is a huge addition back. I think Seamus Kennedy, unfortunately, massive loss. Right, that's like he was a revelation last year for us, like really steady war horse type lad. But like we need to really identify who's going where, But Conor Bowe is another real positive. I think wing back. He's not the finished article, but I think he'll grow into that position. Again, minded, can score from distance. Brian O'Mara needs to step up as well. Good hurler, whether you're playing wing back or six. Really attack minded as well. Can shoot from distance. Willie Connors back on the panel, another positive. Do you know what I mean? So there is lots of positives there. I suppose, but like we're just, and again, maybe last year Lee were going to fly. Maybe we're time running better this year. Maybe Mikey and Liam have learned their lesson and said, right, you know what now? We're not showing our hand, and we're going to hold back a little bit here now, and we're going to time a run, and we're going to introduce lads gradually, and we're going to hit the ground running in the end of April, May, and peak at the right time. So that's what we're all hoping,
So if I was to ask you, what do you think you were saying they need to settle on a shape and so on. What do you think Tipperary are trying to do? And then the fact that during the Limerick game, they went from playing 6 at the back to Cadell coming back and picking up Cian Lynch to leave Brian McGrath free. Does that kind of show that they had to compromise mid-game, or were they just testing it out?
Could we just testing it out? Like at the end of the day, it didn't work anyway, number one. Are they the right personnel? Probably not. Brian McGrath and Cadell doing them roles? Probably not. Would someone like... I honestly think that we need to really look at our strengths and use them to the utmost. I think we have to really get Jake Morris and Jason Ford on the ball as much as possible. I'd be playing them two nearies as an inside line all the time. I'd be maybe like Dara Stapleton. I'm putting Jake inside with Dara Stapleton, or someone with real pace, Mark Keogh, right? And Sean Ryan is coming in there, but I think Mark Keogh maybe and Jake inside as a two inside, and leave Jason out on edge of the D, and then give him that free role maybe in that inside forward, but coming out around the 6 that has to be picked up, because the one thing about Jason is anywhere he gets a sniff of a chance, it's a score, and he'd become a real nightmare there and hard to pick up. I'd like to see Willie Connors middle of the field. I think our midfield needs to be really like maybe Willie Connors, maybe Conor Stapleton, two workhorses middle of the field, getting on every break, that maybe something like that. You know what I mean? As say, and then maybe looking at Barrett at 6, and or Barrett and Owen McGrath, possibly, and have Brian O'Mara, maybe Dan McCormick's two wing backs. So,
yeah,
like that's come here. Everybody would have their own opinions on this. I suppose what we're looking for is to build a bit of shape now, and to kind of have a solid half back line, have a hard working midfield, and have an inside forward line that we can hit the ball into space, that they have the legs to get to the ball, beat their man, and recycle it or take them on. Do you know what I mean? And I think Jake has that. I think Jason walking around the edge of the D. I think Mark Keogh inside, like maybe Sean Hayes wing forward. That energy running at teams, he's a very good habit at club level that we've seen him running the teams. What he needs, I suppose, a bit more consistent throughout the game. He needs to bring but he's young, and that comes with experience. You know what I mean? But he could definitely. Alan Tynan, again, he's more workman-like, can track back the field, get up, but get a bit more consistency. Listen, there's lots of positives for Tipp, I suppose, and I suppose, as I said to you, we're all hoping that they're starting to find their shape now. I think we need a win against Clare the weekend. It won't be easy down there. It won't be an easy game. But if Tipp could get over the line that game, it would really set him up for the coming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, even since John Kiley took over in late 2016, Tipp have just won 2 of 12 league and championship games, and they were both. One was a league semi-final in 2018. The other was a 2019 Munster dead rubber. So Tipperary haven't been up to the mark when it comes to Limerick. But like at the same time, I can't imagine that there would be any inferiority complex within Tipp. Whether everyone outside sees it or not, I doubt it's within the camp.
No, and like, come here, at the end of the day, if I was in Liam Cahill's boots now, right, I'd be not forgetting about Limerick, but there's no point looking over your shoulder constantly Limerick. You have to focus on what you have, right? And at the end of the day, are we good enough to win All Ireland this year? Maybe we are, maybe we're not. Maybe we're still building. No one thought in 19 we're going to win another Ireland either. We got hammered in the Munster final inside Limerick. They hammered us by, I don't know, 12 or 15 points. It could be more even. We went on and won another Ireland. What I'd be focused on is getting my team together, getting my panel together, and looking to next year, year after, and building. Because this Limerick train, like Limerick are going to get beaten at some stage, and someone is going to take over, or not take over, or maybe win another Ireland, or they might come back again, whatever it is. But I would be really focusing ourselves, and I would be forgetting about the past record and just focus on this Sunday. What's our best team? Who's our best 6? Who's our best 11? Who can we trust at 8 and 9? And who's the backup for them positions? And see, can we build on that then, and grow into the championship? And listen, it's a Munster championship is just, it's not like who would you pick as your top 3 in Munster to come out of Munster this year?
It flip and flops all the time. I think Limerick and Clare, and then I was thinking Tipperary until I started really focusing on the options that Cork have, and you think how close they were last year. So I'm kind of flip-flopping all the time.
And I tell you, there's another crowd here. Like Davy there now has gone back into the woods, and he loves the underdog, and he's Desi coming back in, and he is like they will be very hard bet, and they're back home in Waterford this year. I tell you, that's going to be a very, very sticky fixture now for anybody. Do you know what I mean?
And do you think Clare then, after all the talk of, coming up short, Croke Park 2 years in a row, question marks about the decisions that Lohan is making in terms of like centre back in the previous year when John Conlon was injured, and then last year leaving Keane Galvin for too long on Aaron Gillan when it wasn't working, and you feel for the player in that situation. Like they kind of have to start delivering and putting something together. So this is a big game for them for that reason.
It is, yeah, but I don't think it's. I think they're further down the road than we are. Do you know what I mean? I think they're a little bit more settled than we are. They're getting to me the number 2 in the country. I think the biggest worry for Brian Lohan it's getting his best players fit, getting Shane O'Donnell back in the field, getting Tony Kelly fit. Ryan Taylor, the word is not good about Ryan Taylor. I don't know how true it is or not. You couldn't believe him, Clare lads, at the moment. What we telling you? But if they can get their best players on the field, I think Brian Lohan would be quietly comfortable that how they're going the league. He's not going to be crying if he's knocked out of the league this weekend. He'll go back. He'll have 3 or 4 weeks there to prepare his team for the first round. First round is Limerick at home, isn't it?
Against Clare, yeah.
Like that's a big fixture for them, and so and I think they've Cork away after that, then don't they? So that's another big fixture. Like, so if they get bet in the first round, they're heading down to Cork. So I think that's where his focus is, and getting his lads back. I think Tipp's focus is we've an extra week. I think from a Tipperary point of view is the Limerick players have to go to Clare, and that's going to be an almighty battle down there. We're coming in fresh, so we have a really good chance to maybe catch Limerick on the hop there. That, like, do you know what I mean? Because they're not going to be buzzing off the ground like people say. Oh, they have a game played 7 days earlier against a physical team like Clare. That's not easy to turn that around. Like, and Limerick have been finding it very difficult in Clare the last 2 or 3 years, and have been a bit flat after them. So as such as I think the game towards against Clare the weekend is more important to win the game. I think for Clare, it's just stepping stone along, maybe introduce back in a couple of players and getting their bodies back in the field.
I'm just going to correct myself. I said Keane Galvin earlier, I think, for the quarterback. I meant Keane Nolan. But just in terms of Kilkenny then, they've got Limerick this weekend. And if you look at the games last year, they came up a little bit short. What do you think of Kilkenny this year?
Yeah, Kilkenny's funny, isn't it? It's kind of unknown. They're building again, aren't they? There's a few boys that you thrown on Larkin there just the right time there, didn't you? But they're coming again. They're building. Derek, I say, is happy enough. There's a couple of new bodies being introduced there. So, like, listen again. I think Derek's not going to be too worried about the results against Limerick the weekend. He'll want to put in performance, but again, getting TJ back on the field against Clare, getting a few more bodies back on the field, building again to a Leinster championship. You'll have to fancy him to come out of Leinster again this year, probably between themselves and Galway. But at the end of the day, Kilkenny are looking for a Croke Park. Not too worried about the weekend, I'd say.
Okay, well, look, Owen, I know you have a busy 24 hours ahead with a baby due, so thanks for joining us. We'll chat to you
Thanks,
soon.
guys. Okay.
Owen, great to have you on the show. Geez, you're all dressed up for us and all ready for war.
Sure, someone has to look after the country, Shane. You know yourself.
Well, we're in safe hands with you. We were just talking about Kilkenny there. What's your thoughts on Kilkenny and how they're moving at the moment?
Yeah, I suppose. Look, I was just listening to the end of Owen there. Look, I'd be in a different kind of situation to probably what Owen was. I'd be kind of worried about going into this game with Limerick the weekend. Kilkenny haven't really been firing throughout the league, and you know they've had different teams out in different days and things like that. So, like, albeit the result probably won't worry Derek too much, but I'd say they don't want to be going down getting a hammer neither. You know, if they have any ambitions of probably toppling Limerick throughout the summer. So I'd be kind of a little bit worried. I was hoping we were going to avoid Limerick throughout the league and maybe catch them at the end of the championship. But look, they're obviously going to have to improve an awful lot from what they've shown this year already if they're going to have a chance on Saturday evening. But look, it's hard to see it, but we live in hope.
And if Kilkenny are to make up the ground in the last couple of years, and I'm just looking at last year really, so you know, it was tough for everybody, but you know, for Derek Ling it was 2 games and a combined 20-point loss, and then, you know, that's not just to single out Kilkenny. Everybody's having those difficulties. But do you think in 2024 anything that was where you came up short last year, have you found players tactically, are you doing anything different?
No, it's hard to see it. It's hard to see it. I thought after maybe 2022 that we might be, you know, building towards being able to beat Limerick again. And last year for maybe 45 minutes, you know, we looked like we probably could, but then just fell away at the end. And I think, you know, I thought at the start of this year, if we were going to have any chance, we were going to have to build on last year and probably find 3 or 4 lads, maybe as impact subs, to come off the bench. You know, as Limerick do, you know, they're able to change it up, you know, come that 45, 50 minutes, and they get that burst of energy. And we just don't seem to have done that. I thought Conor Heary after the club campaign he had with the Loughlin's might be one, but I think he's only played in 1 game for Kilkenny since. Not sure if he's injured now, but I thought he might be one to come on, but we don't seem to have found anyone else. So I wouldn't. It's not worrying times, but you know, I think the time is getting shorter towards championship now, and if you're going to find them, it has to be about now.
Okay, and just in terms of the spine of the team, you know, Hugh Lawler's obviously an excellent full back. You've got TJ in the forwards, you've got Owen Cody, Adrian Mullen. That's all looking pretty good. But in terms of half back line, which, you know, troubles everybody against Limerick, who's going to play there? Midfield, who's going to play there? And this is the problem for Tipp, for example, as well.
It's a big problem for Kilkenny, and I think the centre back position is a huge problem. You know, we played Richard Reid there for the last 2 years. Paddy Deegan was in last weekend. And we just don't seem to be able to get a centre back. And I think if you're going to beat Limerick, it's going to be on that foundation, you know, that half back line, possibly the centre back. And if it was me, I think, you know, to beat Limerick, you're going to have to take chances. And I'd be pushing Hugh Lawler out, you know, and take a chance at full back. Who do you put in there? That's the other question. I've spoken to a couple of lads on this, and a couple of lads are of the opinion to leave Hugh Lawler full back and play David Blanchfield centre back. He plays there for Bennettsbridge, does well for him. Might work, but I genuinely think if we're going to have any chance of beating Limerick, and you know, look, we're going to have to go through an awful lot of other teams to get to Limerick as well. But you know, I think that's what you have to build towards, is trying to get over the All Ireland champions, and I think Hugh Lawler has to come out to centre back and drive it on from there.
What do you think these players in Limerick are going to face this year in terms of like drive for 5 talk? You've been there before.
Yeah, look, it's going to be certainly different to all other years, and it can get in on your head a small bit. And you know, obviously, we got over the line for the 4 in a row, but only barely got there. You know, it was starting to creep in at that stage. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with it. It'll be tough because all Limerick will be talking about is drive for 5 and all that kind of stuff. And no matter how much you hide away from it, it's everywhere you go. So mentally, it'll be a big challenge for them. But look, they've surpassed that, and that's been thrown at them over the last couple of years. And you know, their performances didn't dip at all last year. albeit maybe in the Munster Championship they could have been caught, we'll say, but as Carden as the year went on, they got stronger and stronger and eventually won the All-Ireland. So it'll be interesting to see, and I think we'll see the start of that maybe Saturday evening, depending on if Kilkenny can maybe get a good start and take it to them, what's the response going to be.
And is it a case of just people just constantly coming up talking to you about the drive for 5? Is that why it would start to bother you?
Well, sure, it's not even that it'd bother you. It's just everybody's talking about it and wondering, can you do it? And the media are talking about it. Even your family are talking about it, will you be able to do it? Can you do it? Everybody knows that they can do it. Physically, I suppose, and hurling-wise, they have it all there that can do it. It's just the mental side of the game. Can they contain it enough to get a performance out on the given days that they need?
Who in this Limerick team, like forward-wise, I suppose, positions you would have played, what players do you look at and, you're impressed by?
I sure look, the obvious one, I suppose, is Tom Morrissey. It doesn't probably get the credit he deserves, but works for the team and always chips in with 3 or 4 points from play. And, more often than not, he's taken off in maybe 50, 55 minutes. But that's down to the amount of work that he's after doing. And obviously, John Kiley and Paul Kinnerk see the levels are dropping a small bit. We need to bring up the energy a small bit with a sub. So, but I admire the stuff he does because he's probably one of the unsung heroes in that Limerick team. Probably last year he got the recognition he deserved, but in general he's kind of in the background doing his thing and goes about his business, and there's no hullabaloo when he's taken off then maybe 50, 55 minutes.
Do you see any weak spot to the team? Because they've had Keane Lynch missing at different times. They've had Sean Finn and Declan Hannon missing last year. It doesn't feel like there's a weak link.
Well, I wouldn't say a weak link, but over the course of a couple of league games this year, they've conceded a couple of goals, and I think if you're to beat Limerick, you're going to have to get at least 2 and maybe 3, and still be up in the 20s points wise as well. But look, I've said this for a number of years. I think the only place to play TJ for Kilkenny is full forward, and get the ball in as quickly as possible to him. He's a brilliant hand on him. He's well able to win his own ball, and if he doesn't score, he's able to lay a pass off or get fouled. And that's the only way you're going to get goals against Limerick, I think.
And just in terms of who Derek Ling has been trying to bring into the team, he's tried Harry Shine there against Clare. Billy Drennan's been tried in the last year or so. Timmy Clifford. I feel like I'm missing somebody maybe in the half-forward line. But you've seen, actually, I suppose, Luke Hogan coming in. I think Owen Wall might get a chance this weekend. He is giving everyone a chance.
Yeah, and he has no choice, I suppose, because, he needs 2 or 3 to find 2 or 3 players. And he's looking for someone now to put up their hand and say, right, give me a jersey. Or if you don't give me a starting jersey, I'm in your first 3 or 4 to come in and make an impact. And that's what Kilkenny need. They need impact off the bench. I suppose come the championship time, we'll be able to pick probably 12 or 13 of the starting team, but he needs impact now off the bench, and he needs someone to stand up and say, I'm your man.
And so is your concern actually, and I've seen it in the comments here from 1 or 2 people, that Limerick could win by 10 this weekend? Is it can happen anyway.
Yeah, well, that would be my concern, that, we're kind of slowly building into our championship, and we're starting to build a bit of confidence and get confidence into the group after the All-Ireland final last year. And, if we were to meet Limerick and get beaten by 10 points, how far is that going to knock the confidence back? That would be my worry. If we're in the game and we get beat by 2 or 3 points, maybe I'd say, yeah, Derek has something to go in and say, right, we're after being beaten by 2 or 3 points, but we're not where we want to be just yet, but we can get there, and that's, I think, look, obviously Kilkenny want to win the game, there's no doubt about that, but I think if that does happen and we get beat by 2 or 3 points, then we have something to build on going into the championship.
And just in terms of the other challengers, who do you think is closest to Limerick?
Oh, look, I think Limerick are out ahead of everyone else, a good bit ahead of everyone else, and I think throw the rest of them into a hat, and anyone that comes out, I think the rest of them maybe could beat each other. They're all on level par. Maybe Galway are standing out slight bit more than most teams, but not much on a given day. I'd say anyone could beat anyone.
So when you watched the way that Galway approached them last week, it seemed to be in your face, aggressive, try and put them off their game. I'm sure teams tried to do that to you back when you were dominating as well, but you have any choice but to try and get in their faces?
No, I think that's going to be part and parcel of it. I think if you're going to beat Limerick, you have to do that. But again, that takes a ferocious energy and a ferocious work rate. And can teams do that for 70 minutes without having an impact off the bench? I don't think so. It will. That energy level will drop at some stage, and that's when you need the 2 or 3 or 4 off the bench to bring that energy level back up and keep it there for the 70 minutes. Because as we see last year in the All-Ireland final, when Kenny couldn't keep that up for 70 minutes and they didn't have anybody to raise that level coming on, Limerick were just able to pull away.
Is the main area where they're ahead of teams their physicality, their hurt? What is it tactically?
Yeah, I suppose all three: physicality, fitness, tactically. They're very astute as well with John Kiley and Paul Clerk down there. So, but look, there's only so many tactics that that you can bring into hurling. You have to go and win the ball. You have to hit it over the bar. Yes, have they exploited all the things that they want to exploit? They have, but they're on the road a long time. They haven't invented anything, alien. People have seen it now. They're studying it for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, 6 years even, since they came on the scene. So everybody knows what Limerick do now, and it's just about getting the mentality right, being able to keep the energy levels up to close down those spaces that they create, and then attack their defence. And when you marry all that together, it takes an awful amount of energy out of you. And to be able to do it for 70 minutes with the first 15 is nearly impossible.
How do you think Leinster will go this year?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be tight again. I do think it'll be probably Galway, Kilkenny again. Barron, maybe Wexford can come up. But look, we have to realise where Wexford were last year as well. You can't jump from kind of the bottom to the top in the space of a year. So, look, they will be dangerous, but I think it'll be Kilkenny, Galway, kind of Leinster final again.
And just again back to Limerick against Kilkenny this weekend. When you would have been on top of teams, and are there times when you're going out to matches almost psychologically you're very confident, maybe a few points ahead, or you come down to the last few minutes and you always feel like we'll get over the line? Do Kilkenny now have this with Limerick as well, the other way around, whereby you kind of have that thing hanging over you? You're almost wondering, geez, if we get close, can we even hang in with them? Does everyone have an inferiority complex with them now?
Yeah, I think they do, and I think that's probably why most teams are falling away in the last kind of 10 or 15 minutes as well. Energy levels being one thing, but the inferior complex of, can we actually beat them, and people talking, Limerick are unbeatable. That gets into your head and seeps into you, and when you get tired, then you start doubting yourself as well. And I think lots of teams probably are beaten by Limerick before they go out. That's not saying, are Kilkenny going to be beaten by him? Certainly, I'd like to think that Kilkenny think that they can beat Limerick on any given day, and that they really believe that. And I think if you're going to beat Limerick, you have to really, really, really believe it, because when it comes down the stretch and you get tired and your mind is starting to wander, you need to stick to the plan and really believe that you can go over the line, even if you're 3 points up or 3 points down, or 5 points up or 5 points down. If you really, really believe it, you'll stay going and stick to the plan, and hopefully you'll be able to go over the line then.
And are you doing any hurling yourself this year, or did you hurl last year?
Yeah, I done a bit of junior last year as well. So look, I'm probably finished with the senior team, and I'm involved as a selector now. So, but I'll hurl as much as I can now. I got regretted to junior B, so we'll hurl a bit of junior B and see can we get up to the levels of junior. But look, I'll stay going. The body is good, the mind is good, so we'll stay going as long as we can.
And so you're on the senior management team alongside Brian Cody as well.
Yeah.
Does he take much convincing? Does he listen?
Well, look, we haven't gone back onto the field yet, so we're just in the gym and doing a bit of running and things like that. We're not going back on the first week of April. So, but look, I'd be kind of strong-minded as well, so we might have a couple of arguments during the year. But look, it's all we both have the best interest of the club at heart, and we'll get over that.
Yeah, and sure, the management obviously enjoyed a few pints while they're picking the team as well, so you'll have a bit of crack.
Well, I don't know about that, but look, there's a couple of us on the management team enjoy a couple of pints, so we'll have a discussion, and I'm sure Brian will be there in the background.
Yeah, and just like in terms of the Kilkenny Championship, O'Loughlin Gales obviously had a great year last year, and like, is it wide open next year? Do you feel, or Ballyhale going to come back as strong as ever?
Oh, well, look, Ballyhale are a fantastic team. They were missing a couple last year, and I think a couple of them are coming back. It's going to be wide open again. The Kilkenny Championship always is. Any team can beat any team at any stage. Even when Ballyhale were going very well, we came along in 2011 and beat them, and Loughlin's were there last year. They beat them in 2015 as well, I think. So, look, it's like the Limerick thing. You just have to have that belief, and things have to go right for you on the day. But look, we're looking forward to it. We feel we've a good panel. We'll be thereabouts again, and we'll give it everything to try and go over the line. It's a long time. It's 2011 now since we won a county championship for a club the size of ours. So we'll be giving it everything anyway.
Okay, and of course,
certainly O'Loughlin's winning last year gives everybody belief.
And they've got him on McInness from Kerry now as well.
Yeah, well, look, that's for another day as well. They're kind of building, and they're going to be stronger again next year. But look, they could have been beaten in the quarter final by Mullavat. They only got over the line by 2 points as well. So, if you can get over those results, it certainly does open up, and it gives you confidence. And who knows what can happen after that.
And if you were to just pick your 2 winners of the semi-finals this weekend, how do you think you'll go?
Oh, look, my heart is saying Kilkenny, but my head says Limerick, and I'm not sure on the other game. I think the other game could be a draw.
Okay.
So. And
then a final thing before letting you go, who are your favourite players to watch at the moment? I know you said you admire Tom Morrissey the way he plays, but just like who are you happy to pay to watch?
Yeah, look, I like Mike Casey in the backs for Limerick. I think he's not stylish. He just does his own thing. I'm looking forward to seeing Sean Finn get back. I loved him as a back. Again, a bit more stylish maybe than Mike Casey, but tigerish, tenacity, all the things you want in a corner back. And obviously Tom Morrissey and Garrett Hegarty, I think, are phenomenal wing forwards. They do everything you want in a modern day wing forward. They're up and down the field, they score, they create, they work so hard for the team. If you could get those two on a team, you're going a long way to win any game, I think.
Okay, well, look, Owen, really appreciate your time, and sure, look, we'll chat again soon.
No bother, Shane. Thanks a million.
Okay, great to have Owen Larkin on the show there. Just a reminder that you can do a live fundraiser with OurGame. We've got a brilliant one coming up very soon, April the 13th. This is in the Dome in Thurles, presented by Sean Tracy's GAA Club. John Milan, Kieran Carey, Eddie Brennan and Seamus Callinan. You can go to the Sean Tracy's X account there, and they've got a link to that. So we'll also put it out as well. So that's going to be absolutely brilliant. So we're really looking forward to that. Myself and Michael Verney will be presenting. And now we've got Cian Johnson on talking a little bit of football. Cian, how are things with you?
All good, Shane. All good.
Yeah, well, look, we've been focusing big time on the hurling, but there's a lot coming up in the football this weekend as well. What would be the main games that are sort of tickling your fancy this weekend?
Yeah, to be honest, I think the best action is going to be in the bottom 2 divisions, like in terms of entertainment, because I think Division 1 and 2 is fairly straightforward in terms of like drama. I think Derry and Dublin are basically in the Division 1 final, barring a shock, and I think Monaghan are already gone, and Roscommon probably will join them. Like the Division 2 final is already decided, so with Armagh and Donegal. But I think Division 3, if I could pick one game to watch this weekend, it'd be Westmeath it'd be Down and Clare. Westmeath will probably beat Sligo and be promoted, but Down against Clare is essentially a promotion playoff. So if Clare win, they'll go up, but a draw will do Down. So I think that would be the best game to look at in terms of entertainment. And Division 4 as well, the promotion race there is a bit mad. So maybe the bottom 2 tiers for this weekend for entertainment, bit of a red zone job would be ideal.
But if we do actually go up to Division 1 at the moment, like Tyrone are a team that you've got a nice fancy for this year, and sure, look, in Darragh Canavan have they arguably, well, we won't quite say better than David Clifford, but and maybe even you can include Con in that, but right up there with the top tier of forwards, which probably also includes Shane Walsh.
Yeah, Darragh Canavan's on player of the year form, it's only the league, but if he continues it on. But yeah, look, I think Tyrone will be really dangerous, and I don't know if they can win All Ireland, but I think they can take out one of the big teams in maybe a quarter or semi-final. Like the real thing with Tyrone is the last couple of years since they won the All Ireland was like too many of their main players' form kind of just fell off a cliff. Like if you think of the under-21 team that won the All Ireland that time against Tipperary,
robbed it.
Yeah, 2015 I think it was. But like if you think of like Paddy Hampsey, McGeary, Conor Myler, McShane. Like Conor Myler is probably the only player that has held his form the last 2 years. He's a gem of a player. Like he's always brilliant. But like Kieran McGeary was Footballer of the Year in 2021, and then he can't get in the team the next couple of years. And like Paddy Hampsey has had a couple of tough days out, which he wouldn't normally do. And McShane as well. Like I actually think McShane is the key for Tyrone. I think he could unlock everything for them, because I know he was got on trial with the AFL, and then he got that really bad injury. But like I don't know, like if you remember in 2019, he was the top scorer in the championship, and Tyrone didn't even get to the final that year. I think Dean Rock was second.
Didn't he score 5 against Jason Foley that day?
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that. Yeah, and like I know Jason Foley isn't the same animal he is now, but still, like he was unbelievable that year. And you know, he's such a turn of pace, and he's a huge man. You can throw in ball any way into him, and he was just on fire. And he just hasn't, for whatever reason, recaptured that form. And like if you think of like Canavan and McCurry now, if you could put him in there with them, like him and McCurry inside him, Canavan like buzzing around at the top of the D, like that would take fair stopping. And like Canavan and McCurry aren't big men, but like if you could throw him in there inside, it just keeps teams honest that you could put in a high ball for a few marks, or if he could just take the heat off the two boys and win ball and dish it off to them. Like I really think if 2019 Cotton McShane can come back, that takes fair stopping. Like, and like just look at the rest of their team. Like Morgan is the best keeper in the game, like we spoke about it last week. Like Hampsey, if he can get back, and McKiernan are two serious man markers. Like Kennedy and Kilpatrick are monsters at midfield, like unbelievable kick-out options. Will do all the hard work for you. And then like the transition players like Conor Myler, Peter Hart, McGeary, Frank Burns, like they have the nucleus of a really good team. So yeah, no, Tyrone will be dangerous, definitely.
Okay, and just as we mentioned Jason Foley there, he's got an injury concern, and I'll come to that, but he was the player who was in that incident with Carl Heenan, and Carl Heenan, his foot came down on top of him. I suppose we're just use legal term. He stepped down on top of Foley, and there's talk of a proposed 1-match ban. So he missed the game this weekend against Derry, if I have it right. I don't think he can have any complaints, can he?
No, and like I don't know. I just think it's mad how your mentality can switch from scoring a goal to I'm gonna do this, fella. Like I don't know how it goes so quickly, but no, it doesn't look good. And look, like you can never, like, how are you meant to know whether he actually meant it or not? Like it's hard, but he looked like he stepped out of his normal line where he's meant to land. So yeah, no, it's tough. And like Jason Foley went off about 5 minutes later with a bad. It looked like he came down again. So.
So the reports are that he came off with an ankle injury, and hard to know if it's the same instance, if it was a contributing factor in any way. But Tomás O'Shea was talking in the media since, and he said in terms of like the backup if Foley is injured, and he said it's not as if Kerry have huge strength and depth. To Brian O'Beugly to come back and Thomas Sullivan to come back, so to have players, they're not going to be caught. But at the same time, if they're thinking bigger things, you need all your best players, and he's one of them. You'd be hoping he'd be back sooner rather than later. I mean, they're All Ireland hopes could kind of live and die based on whether Foley is there for the big games against the likes of, Tyrone, maybe if they get that far, but certainly the likes of Dublin.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And like even whoever comes in to replace them, they're not blessed with massive height in the full back line, like, so like they don't really have anyone to replace him. And like he's been an ever present since he's come back, and like he's such a burst of pace. I think he used to be a 200-meter sprinter, like, so it's trying to get out in front of him in full forward line is an absolute nightmare. Yeah, no, they don't really have anyone to replace him. And the thing is, though, is like Munster will be a fairly easy ride. You'd imagine they'll beat Cork, and then whoever comes through. So like they'll be looking at getting them back for the round robin stage, which is a bit away yet. So hopefully he'll be back.
I don't want to be one of these people who builds up Cork before they get hammered by Kerry, but Cork started off the year poorly, lost 3 in a row. They've won 3 in a row. Bit of a step up in terms of class this weekend against Armagh. But could you make any sort of case for Cork this year? Like Conor Corbett looks good, Chris Oak, Jones. Like there's players there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like Cork had a really good year last year. Like they pushed Derry nearly all the way in the quarter final, and you'd be nearly thinking they'd be looking at pushing Division 1 with Donegal and Armagh, but it ended up they having to win a few games to save themselves, and that a really strong finish against Meath there. I was really impressed. I think they kicked 6 in a row, and it wasn't looking good at one stage. So, Cork have good players, and even was it last year in the Munster against Kerry, they put it up to them for about maybe 50 minutes. There was a black card penalty that kind of swung the game. So, yeah, look, I mean, if they can get all their players in the field and really put it up to Kerry, it would be healthy for the championship. But I think Kerry will probably, you're looking at handicap -7, 8, I think.
Yeah, Traumspieler says, loved the best player feature you ran for Division 1 teams last week. Could Keane do the top player for all 32 counties, perhaps? It's a brilliant topic. Now, 32 might be a bit much, but we might do Division 1 next week, Keane, if you're available.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. So just back to the Division 1 games, like Kerry Galway this weekend, even though I know we can make the case that there's not all that much at stake in terms of like the way the league is at this stage, Kerry are third. I mean, like the scoring difference and all that kind of stuff. So they're not going to go through to the final. I don't think there's no, like in terms of permutations, can much change?
Well, Kerry would have to hope that Tyrone beat Dublin and it's in Croke Park. So I can't see that. Yes, and Roscommon need to win and then hope that Kerry. I think Kerry will beat Galway. Like Galway are destroyed with injuries. Like even Sean Kelly's after picking up a reoccurrence of another injury. Pádraig Joyce was saying, and Rob Finnerty was meant to start the last day, and he's injured now as well. So, look, Kerry will win that game at home, and Roscommon are playing Derry away, but. I don't know, like Derry are basically qualified for the final now, so if they make changes, it could give Roscommon a chance, and that's the problem with the format of the league is like teams have nothing to play for in the last day. It's a lot different to playing Derry maybe round 2, round 3. So if they make wholesale changes, that could give Roscommon a chance of putting Galway in relegation, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
And just in terms of Roscommon, this topic has come up. Are they a boring team? Like, I don't think any manager ever watches his team and wonders, are we playing free flow and stuff? Is it entertaining? Like, Davy Burke won't care, but I suppose at the same time, it doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Do you enjoy watching these Roscommon games?
That Roscommon Kerry was a hard watch now. I don't know. I think their style of play is really holding them back, and I know, like, Roscommon argue like they're in Division 1 and like that's a serious achievement for them. But I just think for the forwards they have, like, if you look at Enda Smith, Tony Smith, Diarmuid Murtagh, Darragh Craig, Ben O'Carroll's injured at the minute, but they're just not they're not playing to their strengths. Like, I think they scored 9 points against Galway, 9 against Mayo, I think 111 the last day. Like, I mean, it's just not good enough for the quality players they have. And like even against Kerry there, like Roscommon needed a win badly and had a massive breeze in the first half. And Kerry won the throw up and kept the ball for nearly 2 minutes and then scored a point. And then there was another phase of play where Roscommon actually scored a point, dropped off the kick out. Kerry held the ball for over 4 minutes and then scored a point. And it's just like you have the breeze in your back. You might as well just go for it. Like, it's not as if they're not conceding big scores. Like, they're conceding big scores anyways. But even their kickouts, like, they never go long on their kickouts. And I know they haven't maybe the big men to win them, but you can still, adapt a system where you have lads shooting into space in the wings and you're maybe taking it at chest height, like, but they're going short on every kickout. And whenever they go short, it's like, how quickly can we get it back to the goalkeeper? And like, you're never going to score a goal when you're doing that. I think Roscommon have scored 3 goals in the league so far. Like, even if you look at the Tyrone Monaghan game, all the goals came from a long kick out over the top. You're taking out 10 of the opposition players and suddenly you're in the opposition's 45. So I think Roscommon, if they're going to like win the big prizes, like beat Galway, Mayo and Connacht, or go far in the All-Ireland Championship, like, they need to start maybe going a bit longer in the kickouts and feeding their top class forwards, like, because they do have them.
Do you think in some ways they might just be like mad for the league to be over, get back, work on what they're going to do for the Connacht Championship, and almost a write-off? Like, I know if they get relegated, it's not ideal, but I suppose the whole idea that you can't win the All-Ireland from Division 2, or, maybe it's winning Connacht is their hope for this year. But like, that's kind of gone out the window now. Dublin have done it. Is it that big of a deal is what I'm asking?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't think so, no. And like Davy Burke was saying in his interview that he'd rather be in Division 1 learning about what's wrong than being in mid-table in Division 2 or top of Division 2. Now, I know he probably has to say that. Like, he can't, like, if he was top of Division 2, he'd be saying the opposite. But, yeah, like Roscommon, they kind of fell flat last year, like in the round robin after a really good league. They got the bounce off Davy Burke and they're really fit and they managed to stay up in Division 1. But they lost to Kildare that was in Tullamore in the round robin, and then ended up having a disappointing season out of that. So yeah, you're trying to gauge it. Like last year was the first year of the new kind of system, and everyone was kind of wondering what to do. And you look at Galway Mayo was in the league final last year, and both of them fell flat in the championship. So you wonder, are teams trying to like peak here and there, or what their S&C teams and whatever are planning. So.
And like they have a full month until championship. They'll be waiting for New York or Mayo. Obviously, they'll be waiting for Mayo, but they have a nice bit of time to build into that, get everyone right, work on their system. Obviously, Davey was talking after the Dublin game that he didn't have all his players together and, all this kind of talk. But he will get that opportunity because there's no Sigerson Cup. There's no club stuff on at the moment. So, like, do you feel like there's a chance that they can just time this right now, or is there momentum really moving against them?
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like if they were able to ambush Mayo like last year, all of a sudden their season could take off, and like they're never afraid of Mayo. Is that game, a home game for Roscommon? Is it or?
It's actually down as an away game.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was in Castlebar last year, but yeah, like Roscommon are never afraid of Mayo. They're the one team that's always able to put it up to them. But like the thing about Roscommon over the years, I never really got is like how are they always able to beat Mayo and Galway and Connacht, but any time they'd play like say Dublin or Kerry in the knockout stage or in Croke Park, they'd always get wiped. Or even Mayo wiped them one year in the Super 8s, or no, it was a quarter final. But in Connacht, I don't know, is it a Croke Park thing or is it just there's not at that level when it comes to it? Like it makes no sense how they can put it up to them in the Connacht.
Is it the big team tunes in for straight knockout though? Like it's Croke Park, but maybe that's incidental. It's knockout.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, like I just it's kind of hard to put your finger on it, but yeah, as you said, was the big teams kind of dial in when it gets to the bigger stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see any weakness in this Dublin team now? They're hosting Tyrone this weekend. I think we're going to expect the Dubs to win this one, but geez, it just feels like the team from 3 or 4 years ago now at this stage, maybe 4 years ago, that they're flawless everywhere and they're playing nice attacking football.
Yeah, no, Dublin are in cruise control. Like that game was a non-event, really. Like they were always had Galway at arm's length. But I mean, like most teams and managers are talking about players who they don't have, and that's the reason why they're not performing and all that. But like nobody has mentioned about Dublin. Like Dublin are arguably missing 5 or 6 players that are going to be in the first 15 in Championship. Like if you look at Cluxton, Fitzsimons, like McCarthy hasn't featured it at all. Mannion only came on there for his first minutes. Pascal, like the Dublin strength in depth is crazy. Like, and even Sean Bugler, like I mean, like he got an injury last year and he missed out. He was unbelievable at the weekend. Like he's taken his game to another level, and I don't know. It's a bit scary for the rest of the country. Like I think you're looking at Kerry and Derry, and outside of that, I don't think anyone else is going to even come close to them.
And Mayo lost to Derry last weekend. They go to a Monaghan team that has. Would you say they've fallen apart ever since beating Dublin, or is that being a little bit harsh on them? It's not like their scoring difference is -43 after winning the first day by a couple against Dublin. So that's not great. Like a 5-game run where your scoring difference has gone down to -43, having been plus a couple, it's not ideal.
No, I don't know how that they won that game against Dublin the first day. Like what? It's just mad what's after.
They were good, weren't they? Like they were really good.
Yeah, it's just mad at what's after happened since. I don't know, was it a reflection of Dublin kind of sleepwalking into the first round or what it was? But yeah, no, like they actually got themselves back into the game against Tyrone. They had a really slow start and they looked all right. Like they gave Tyrone the fill of it for a while, and like Conor McManus was rolling back the years. I think he got 5 from play. Like it's just ridiculous. I think he said that this is going to be his last year, but geez, what a player over the years. But no, look, it's not looking good for Monaghan, and Rory Beggan kicked 10 out of 10 there yesterday, so he's definitely not coming back, I'd say. So yeah, no, it's not good.
And just in terms of Division 2, Armagh and Donegal are already through. You've kind of said that already. And both teams are seriously free scoring. Armagh, as I said, away to Cork this weekend. Donegal at home to Meath. But how much do you read into their form, given that it's Division 2? And I know I said Dublin won an All-Ireland from Division 2, but it's Dublin. You know, it's filled with players that have done it before. How much can you look into the form of Donegal and Armagh, good as it is heading into Championship?
Yeah, you do have to take that into account. And Armagh are moving brilliantly. Like, a lot of people would have said that Rian O'Neill is their main player and they're really reliant on him. He's hardly even featured. Like, he only came on 10 minutes to go there the weekend. Like, so I don't know, is it a fitness issue or is he just, I send out a message to him, but like he hasn't even featured yet, and the scores they're racking up. I mean, their forwards, Oisín Connaughty is really impressive. I to be honest, I hadn't even heard much about him before this year. Like, and he scored 4 from play there against Cavan, and like Conor Turbott's moving well. Stephen Campbell, Rory Grugan, like they have ballers all over the field, and they're a seriously fit team. They're after really showing up the defence. They're the only team in the country to not concede a goal so far. That's seriously impressive. And Ethan Rafferty got a bad injury in the club championship last year, so Glenn Hughes is back in goal. But who would have thought putting an actual goalkeeper in goals would keep the ball out with the net? But Armagh are moving really well, and Donegal too. Like, I know Clare put up a brave kind of fight, but they came through it. And like the Donegal spread of scores is really impressing me. They've serious players who can kick from everywhere, like Kieran Thompson, Michael Langan, out in the 45 throwing over points. Like, I mean, I think when the weather gets better and the ball travel further, like it's a serious weapon to be able to kick points from distance when teams are dropping off. Like Pater Morgan, a really good transition player, massive pacing, scored 5 points. And like Donegal are actually missing a lot of players now. Like even Brendan McCool will be their first choice full back, and Stephen McMenamin still haven't came back. Niall O'Donnell as well. Darrell Boyle is actually playing really well, and actually I read a good thing about him. If you're looking for a reflection of the commitment and dedication under Jim McInness, he was actually in Australia when he got the call, and he came back and he left his girlfriend over there. She's still over there, so that's the commitment to play for Donegal under Jim McInness. There you go.
Christ almighty. And like Donegal have to play Derry in the quarter-final of Ulster. Geez, I mean, you'd be thinking before the winter of last year when McInness was appointed, you're just thinking, okay, Donegal are all over the shop. Derry are flying, they're on the upward curve and all that kind of stuff. But would you call this 60-40 Derry, or are you getting closer to 50-50 now?
Yeah, it's probably getting closer to 50-50 the more you look at Donegal, and you'd probably like to see them maybe beat Armagh in the league final or something and bring it quicker. But like as you said, like this time last year, you wouldn't even be considering this result. Like, it would have been a slam dunk. But it's mad. It's mad the way one man can just turn the tide of a whole county. Like, it's like this time last year, everyone was saying Donegal's football has been set back 10 years with Carol Lacey leaving the development squads and all that crack that was going on. So it's if every county could have a lad like McInness who you could bring in, and just everyone suddenly wants to play, and even the buzz. Like, even was looking at an interview there he was doing at the weekend, like, and there's fans running around the background like waiting to get a picture with the manager. Like, there's not too many in the country that are up with that kind of a pedestal. Like,
is there a more shocking result in the country last weekend than Louth putting up 6-17 when beating Fermanagh? 6-17 to 11 points. I think 24-point defeat. And Fermanagh, who are notoriously miserly at the back. Now, Fermanagh will hope to bounce back this weekend against Cavan, Kildare, against winless Kildare against Louth. But I mean, what a performance that was.
Yeah, that was a mad result. Yeah, when you see the results coming in, you don't expect anything like that. Like, most people would have seen that as a basically 50-50 game, and whoever
probably a 10-9 game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and whoever won would have had the best chance of staying up this weekend. But it's hard to know. Sometimes, like, for counties that don't have a massive squad, and if you're drawing out with the same kind of 17-18 players every week, sometimes you can just hit a wall. And maybe that was Fermanagh, because like I watched Fermanagh against Kildare this year, and they were really good, and they were actually decent against Donegal for about 50 minutes as well. So like, they're not a bad team, and yeah, that was a really kind of obscure result. And seen a couple of the goals there. The goalkeeper Ross Bogue has been coming out, and he got caught by Samuel Roy, kicked it in from nearly halfway. So like Louth this weekend, like, they need a win or a draw against Kildare, and you wonder what kind of Kildare is going to show up. Like, surely they'll be thinking, like, we have to get at least one win out of this league. So you'd imagine it's still going to be a tough game for Louth. And Fermanagh will be hoping that, because if they beat Cavan and Kildare don't show up against Louth, that's not much good to them. So that's the Division 2 kind of relegation summed up. It's Louder. Fermanagh is going. It's looking like Fermanagh, but we'll see.
Yeah, Wicklow Antrim's a very tasty game towards the latter end of Division 2. Wicklow are on Limerick are already gone, 6 defeats from 6. Wicklow are on 2 points. Offaly, your own county, are on 3 points. Antrim are on 4. And Offaly, they'll be playing against Limerick and obviously favoured given how Limerick have been going. But that other game, Antrim against Wicklow, I mean, it's kind of set up for I know all the games are going on at the same time and TG Cahir are going to be doing Super Sunday type job as well. But that will be tasty.
Yeah, no, that'll be interesting. Because Wicklow shipped 5 goals against Offaly. It was 2 weeks ago, and you would have said that's them gone. And they turned around last week and beat Limerick. And Antrim are after getting sucked into the relegation battle out of nowhere because if Wicklow beat them, they'll have them on the head-to-head. So that'll be Antrim relegated. So that's essentially a relegation playoff. And Oisin McConville, he was getting a lot of stick after that game. They're after losing 5 from 5, and they looked really poor. So to turn it around, if they could go up to Belfast and get a win, that'd be massive for them. And Antrim will be under serious pressure as well. They actually went quite well in the Tailteann Cup last year, and Andy McEntee has done a decent job. But geez, to go to 4 for them will be a disaster.
Yeah, and then Division 4: Carlow, London, Waterford, Laois, Wexford, Longford, Leitrim against Tipperary. Laois are looking pretty good now. They've got 5 wins from 6. You've got a cohort of 3 teams, Wexford, Longford, Leitrim, all on 8 points as well. So it's pretty tight there at the top.
Yeah, no, this is mad. Yeah, so you'd imagine Laois are going up because they're playing Waterford. They've lost all their games. But so Wexford, Longford and Leitrim are all on 8 points. So I think it's in long. I tried to work out the permutations last night. So I think if Longford have it in their own hands, so if they beat Leitrim, they're up because of the head-to-head. But if Wexford beat Longford and Leitrim don't beat Tipperary, Wexford will go up. But if Leitrim beat Tipp and Wexford beat Longford, Leitrim go up. So yeah, look, I think that's it's going to be madness. Yeah, we're looking for a Sergio Aguero moment on the red zone, so someone to score a last-minute point or something. But did you see actually last week the Leitrim-Laois game? See what happened at the end of that game?
Well, which was that one? So much happened.
Yeah, no, it was so Leitrim beat Laois by a point, right? But so Leitrim went a point up in injury time. Laois were on the last-minute attack, and a Laois player took a shot from really far out, dropped short, and a Leitrim player caught the ball. So the ref blew the whistle for a defensive mark, but the Laois player the Leitrim defender thought it was the final whistle, took off running with the ball, celebrating, got pulled for overcarrying, and the Laois Mark Barry got the free and actually hit the post with it to draw the game. So yeah, it was mad stuff.
Yeah, you'd love that. And I suppose anything else you want to touch on in terms of what's coming up this weekend?
No, that's kind of it. Kind of went through the permutations there, yeah. So maybe the Clare down game is probably the most interesting because Clare have been really done out of it, with that goal against Westmeath. And if they were to beat down to go up after losing all them players and their manager, so I think down are under serious pressure to win that game. It's almost a free hit for Clare nearly. If Down don't get promoted 2 years in a row after Conor Laverty coming in, I think is massive. And he would have been thinking, we'll get this promotion done and, we'll try out Marty Clark and goals for the last game or whatever. But, the Clare won't be giving it easy to them up there. So I don't know if we'll be able to get that game somewhere, maybe some sort of a stream, but that'd be the one I'd be looking out for.
Are you? Would you have any thoughts on David Clifford's penalty attempt at the weekend? Far be it from anyone to have the cheek to tell him how to kick a ball, but
yeah,
it wasn't his best.
No, I'm not one to tell anyone how to take a penalty. I've missed a few soccer and underage, and I'm kind of scarred by that. But yeah, no, it was a weird one, because you look at even the soccer players now that they don't even look at the ball. They're kind of have the eyes on the keeper and they're kind of waiting for him to go. But yeah, no, you can't imagine, geez, if that was a championship game, he'd be doing that.
Okay. Well, look, I think we've ever touched on for this week. So, Cian, thanks very much for joining us on that. A reminder, the audio podcast is at patreon.com/OurGame. There's plenty of other different items there. There's a couple of audio podcasts per week. We have written columns. We have a couple there up in the last week. Some 2-minute tactic videos. Also, just a reminder that you can get the live fundraiser shows with OurGame. We've got one coming up in the Dome in Thurles on April the 13th, looking ahead to the Hurling Championship. John Milan, Kieran Kerry, Eddie Brennan and Seamus Callan. So that's pretty much it for the show this week. We'll be back again next Monday, of course, unpacking everything from the weekend. Keep your comments coming in. Keep liking the show. And look, we'll see you again next week.